Hi, everyone. This is Margaret Hirsch at Home with Hirsch's, and thank you so much for joining us with our coffee chat today. And I've got a really special person today. Her name's Yael Geffen, and we were introduced by a mutual friend named Mark Sham, who you all remember from Suits and Sneakers. And he said we're going to get on like a house on fire because we're both powerhouses, we're both out there, we're both making it happen. There's only one difference. Yael's half my age. But apart from that, we've got the same energy, the same drive. And Yael, I can only say to you, I wish I knew at your age what I know now. Wow, the sky's the limit. I can see the potential in you because it's just, there's so much out there. It's just amazing. And as South African women, we do amazing things. I mean, Marlene Powell, who runs our Entrepreneurs Club, was the top action coach in Africa and top 50 in the world. So we work with amazing people in this country, and it's just, I just love it. But let's talk about a few things. And we've got a lot of things in common, but one of the things that you're not going to think that I'm going to bring up is that I studied under Dr. Brian Weiss, and I know you've studied with him as well. And for those of you who don't know, Brian Weiss's book is Many Lives, Many Masters. So that was something unusual that I picked up. I also studied under Louise Hay as well. So,
my gosh,
yeah,
a woman after my own heart. Never mind coffee chat. How do I come through the screen and swim my way to you in the Midlands? Yes, Margaret, I did a workshop in New York City with Brian Weiss, and it was unbelievably profound. And he does these past life regressions, and in this particular one, he did a future life regression, a future progression. That's right. And you'd be happy to know. Well, I mean, I was quite surprised and excited at the same time, but in the future life progression, when I woke up, women ran the world, and it was like dinosaur times. There were dinosaurs, everything went back to basics, and women were in charge. And this was when I was living in New York City. This was in about 2005. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, I love that type of thing. But today I want to talk about self-improvement, because you and I both, we where we want to be, but we just keep improving ourselves all the time. How important is it for women to actually just decide, oh my goodness, I'm going to do this course, I'm going to do this, whatever, to improve myself? Tell me what your thoughts are on self-improvement for women in this country.
So I've got a saying, always be learning, always be growing. And for me personally, when a woman, or when anyone goes into the mode of self-improvement or doing any type of self-development course, you go from a victim to a victor, because you realize in doing so, there are so many facets of our lives that we can improve on. And you become addicted to learning. I'm actually addicted to improving myself. And you become like a self-improvement addict, because you can see the profound effect that it has not only on your life, but on the lives that you surround, your family, your friends, your colleagues. So it is the greatest gift that a woman or man can give to themselves and to their community and to the world.
Yeah. Now, they say that if you want to know what you'll be like 5 years in the future, you've got to look at the people you're mixing with and what you're doing now. How profound do you think that is? Do you think that's true?
It is true. And it's interesting, because I remember there was a phase in my life where I was running into a wall. I felt like I was running into a brick wall all the time. And I think it was Tony Robbins who said, look at the 5 people you spend your most of your time with. And that's the energy, right? That's who you're going to be. And I thought to myself, sheesh, well, I'm in a bit of a toxic environment here. I really should shift, who I spend most of my time with. And I saw once I did that, the profound impact that it had on my life. And I believe it is true. You are who you spend time with. You really are.
Absolutely. And you are who you desire to be. Do you think it's possible to change yourself? You grew up and you've got all these things, and you're carrying all this stuff around with you that you've sort of accumulated over the time. Do you think it's possible to get rid of all the garbage you're carrying with you and go forward as a new, different person?
I do. And I did this course once, because I know you love courses, on intuition. With this medium. She's a psychic, but she's also an intuit, and It was the most phenomenal course. And how she explained it, she said, we're all born, and she took out this beautiful glass fish bowl, and it just had water in. And she said, this is how we're born, right? And this is how we're closest to source. And she says, slowly but surely, as we go along the way, something happens to us and we collect a marble. And she dropped in a marble. So something happens when you're young, and you feel the rift of that. And then slowly but surely, you've got this beautiful, what was an empty bowl of water now full of marbles, right? And the idea is that you want to lose your marbles, literally and figuratively. And what she said, I loved it. It actually worked, because we land up picking stuff up along the way. And when I say can we become different, I think we can go back to how we were when we came in, without all these hang-ups, chips on our shoulders, learned behavior that is disempowering us. And we can go back to that beautiful glass bowl full of water. We need to lose our marbles, Margaret. We need to lose our marbles.
Become the authentic person. Now, as women, sometimes we put up a shield or in front of ourselves, especially if we go with other women. We don't want them to criticize us. We don't want them to judge us. So we put this shield around ourselves, which is not our authentic self. And now the whole thing is to let your authentic self out. How do you think that people should let their authentic selves out? Because you've been hiding behind this, I'm the perfect wife, I'm the perfect mother, I'm the perfect everything. And then you actually aren't perfect, of course. Everybody knows that. But anyway, but how do you actually start to become your authentic self and just say to people, you're going to have to like me? I always say 10% of all people will like you, 10% of all people will dislike you, and 80% couldn't give a shit. So you spend 90% of your time trying to impress 90% of the people who don't even matter. You've got to rather spend on the 10% who do matter. What do you think about that whole philosophy?
I think we're living in an amazing time where authenticity now is celebrated more than it ever has been, because people are tired. We're tired of the rubbish. We're tired of the bullshit. We're tired of the fake, And I think developing your authenticity quotient is really the word for 2021. In business especially, and especially, you mentioned women. The old way of women in business were, we saw other women as threats, as competitors, as, well, if she succeeds, there's not enough space for me. So it came out of a power block of lack, right? And in this new way of doing business, we lift each other up, we support each other. There's enough room for everyone. There's no need for the scarcity. Yeah. And I've noticed in business these days, people who are authentic, who are transparent, who aren't leaking insecurity, because it's all very well that you think, okay, I'm not going to let these people see this part of me, but what we don't understand is they can see it anyway. You can see a person who is leaking insecurity, and I call it an insecurity leak, because you might think you're looking fabulous, or hashtag blessed, or hashtag humbled, hashtag privileged, and all this stuff on the surface. But people can see right now, oh, this person not being authentic with me. I think it's key for women and men right now to be authentic, but in a way that they are authentic and not try to be authentic. You can't be who someone else is. It's like Oscar Wilde said, be yourself. Everyone else is taken. So, what I like to do is I call it a bullshit audit. I do my own bullshit audit. And I have an NBF, a no bullshit friend. And I say to my NBF, okay, let's look at my social media profile. Let's look at this. Let's look at that. What feels like it's me, and what feels like maybe a little bit of an insecurity leak, or I'm trying a bit too hard, and it's nice to get someone who knows you and knows your strengths and is an important part of helping you feel empowered as a human being, that can call you out on your BA, your bullshit audit.
Okay, now I love family businesses. Of course, we're a family business. You're a family business. How important do you think up family businesses, the people that are setting up a business now, when I set it up, I have to be honest, I never thought my children would be in it, but of course they are in it. And now I'm trying, and I don't want to say encourage my grandchildren to be it, but I'm telling them about it. I said, you know, my eldest grandson's 13. I said, you've got to start work this year, boy, because if you don't start work now, you can't come to me when you're 23 and say, okay, I want a job. I'm going to say, well, you know nothing that you need to know. So how important do you think family businesses are and getting the kids involved from an early age?
So I have a lot of admiration for your family and your family business and what you at Hirsch's have done. And it's a mean feat, you know. I remember once running into a friend. I think I was fetching my little one from school, and someone, an acquaintance, said to me, "You're so lucky you work in a family business." And I just, because the assumption is that we have all this time, that we get paid more than anyone else. And I just thought, wow, if the world really knew how hard it is to work in a family business, you know. Family businesses are very important, especially in a place like South Africa, because we've got so many barriers to entry in terms of the workforce. So entrepreneurship and developing strong generations of strong family businesses that continue, legacy businesses, is so important, not only to the growth of the economy, but to business in itself. I agree with you, Margaret. I think the youngins should get stuck in sooner than later. It teaches discipline. It teaches motivation. You know, I remember when my father and my mom and dad had my little sister. She was a lot lamaki, and he was rocking her, and we still got the footage of it. He was rocking her going like this: "How many deals have you done today? How many deals have you done today?" And actually, at her bat mitzvah, we played that, you know. I think it teaches you discipline. It teaches you to be self-driven. The one aspect that I do find dangerous in a family business, and you might agree with me or not, is the idea that work never ends, and it's very difficult to separate family from business colleagues. And you might be at a function and all of a sudden you'll start talking about business, and that to me is dangerous and sad, because you've got to actually have the family time. So we have rules now, and after a certain time at night, no business talk, or on weekends. And I've had to be quite stringent, to the point where if Lou, my father, starts talking, I say, "All right, I'm out of here." And he's like, "No. Okay, well, I'll be family. I'll be your dad." You know?
Well, yeah, but now my son says, having come into the business the second generation, he says, "Mom, you don't realize how difficult this is because you've built it up. Now I'm taking it over. Imagine if I mess it up." He said, "I have to just be focused on, oh my God, I've got to improve this. I've got to improve this all the time." So you came in as third generation really into the business. How did you cope with that feeling? Oh my gosh, now I'm juggling 2 generations ahead of me. How must I keep this ball floating?
Yes. Look, there's definitely, and I'm going to be authentic here, there's definitely a burden that comes with it. There is, because you feel so responsible for generations before you. But if you also have to think of just the legacy thinking of the business, you can do something which is legicide, and you can be focusing so much on the history that you're not paving the way forward. And for any future generation of a family business, or taking their business to the next step, you've got to move forward with the times. You've got to see what is in the best interest of this business right now going forward. And there might be a lot of things that you need to drop that resonated with the time before, but it's in the best interest of the business. So there's kind of like this heartstring factor where you feel the generational pull of, oh, my granny and my parents. But then you also, as an entrepreneur and as a leader, have to see the way forward. And you don't want to commit legicide to a great business. And that's the advice that I would have for any young people entering a family business. You know, I know some people that are in 12th generation businesses, and you almost have to turn, I don't want to say a blind eye. You respect the past and the heritage, but you have to take the business forward. Otherwise, it can always cut you off at the knees, the legacy thinking, you know?
Now, you went ahead and you got your degree and everything before you came into the business. How important do you think that is for the generations coming through? You know, generation one, like us, I started, my husband's only got standard 7. I've got a standard grade matric until I got my MBA age 70. But, you know, I was a late starter. I started studying when I was 60. You had the joy of studying when you were young and coming into this with a degree. How important do you think that is? I did the practical first and then the theory. You did the theory first, now you're doing the practical. Which do you think is the best way to do it?
I think for young people coming into a family business, it's important to have your own locus of control. And what I mean by that is it's important to have your own stamp and your own flavor, because if you come into something and you don't know who you are, it's very easy to get swayed in many different types of directions. And you want to feel, even if it's just something for you, you want to feel you have your own added value somewhere. So to come in and not have studied, and I don't believe that studying is necessarily in books. You know, studying for me could be going to live overseas, doing many different things. It's as long as you bring in your own life experience and your own kind of unique stamp, I think that will set you far better. Because if you don't bring that in, it's very, you know, in a family business, there's strong personalities, and it's not like a corporate where there's, you know, you're protected with all these bodies and etc. It can be quite brutal at times, and it's important to know who you are. So definitely it might not be necessarily an education per se, but have your own unique experience first, whether it's traveling overseas, whether it's doing a degree, whether it's doing a course or something like that, and then come in so that you're aware of the value that you add, so that you can bring your own unique voice to the table.
And then, of course, there's always that other side of it, which is a nepotism. Oh, you only got this job because you are who you are. How do you cope with people who say that to you? You know, because I mean, I know my kids get it. Oh my God, did you realize how hard I worked to get here? But people, when they just say, oh my gosh, you're the CEO today. How lucky are you? And he said, I wasn't lucky. I was working at 8 years old. In fact, my son is a picture of himself working in the shop aged 8 on his desk. And when people say that, he just turns around and said, listen, this is where I started. How do you deal with people who say, oh, you just got here because of, you know, who you are?
That's such a great question, Margaret, because, you know, when I took over as CEO in 2017, I had sat on the board for a while, since 2009, and we had just come out of a very hectic PR crisis in our company, and with our previous CEO being charged for murder at a company event of ours. Oh and God. So I now went into this position of taking a business out of crisis, being the youngest CEO in South Africa in terms of the top real estate brands, being the only female CEO, and being the chairman's daughter. So if there was ever a deck stacked against me, it was that. But I tried to take my ego out of it, because if you go in with trying to prove yourself off the bat, it's the worst advice ever. You know, that idea, or that saying, a new broom sweeps clean, rubbish. A new broom will make a lot of enemies. There'll be dust in every single corner. There'll be a mutiny of ants coming to get the broom. So for me, I came from a place of humility. Okay, I'm in this position. I believe I am capable of doing this. So it starts with self-belief. And trying to filter out the noise and the mental smoke around your position, your name, who you are. I did a lot of observing, witnessing, listening, understanding before I did any changes or made any kind of strategic implementation going forward. And then when I was able to do that, it was at the right time. You're always going to get naysayers. You're always going to get people saying, oh, she's here because her father's the chairman. And you know what? There's that saying, while everyone was talking about how she couldn't do it, she went ahead and did it anyway. And I'm that kind of person. I don't care if people want to talk about me or whatever. I'm just going to go ahead and do it anyway. And that's my advice. Don't get caught up in all the political nonsense, because it'll only keep you back. But the way to do that is to lose your ego, because if you're focusing on what people are thinking about you rather than the job at hand, you're not the right person for the job.
Now, let's go to the other side of the whole equation, where you're a single mother bringing up your son on your own. How difficult is that? And there's so many single mothers out there saying, oh my God, I've got to juggle. And my husband always says, when we babysit our grandsons, they're not babies anymore, but we call it babysitting. He says, I don't know how single mothers do it, Margaret. I mean, there's two of us and we can't even manage these children by ourselves. How on earth do you manage to juggle all that, to go to the school, drop off, pick up, sort out, play dates, and still run a business like you do?
Yes. Well, I'm lucky that my ex-husband is a great co-parent with my son. But when they're small, all they want mommy. Everything's mommy when they're babies. So it was tough. Hey, being a single parent, whether it's a mom or a dad, it's very hard. And it's interesting. I always say, I'll take any CEO of a listed company to be a breastfeeding mom for 24 hours of the day. They'll all be jumping off Ponty. I can tell you that. No one realizes how hard it is to be a full-time parent, let alone a full-time working parent, and the guilt. Because if you're spending time with the child, you should be doing work. And, and it's what resonated with me and why I did this feminine power course, and I'm getting my coaching certification at the end of this year, is we are so disconnected from other women and how it used to be. It used to take a village it still takes a village to raise a child, but somehow we've conned ourselves into thinking we can do it all, and we can be fetching our child and running a business and going on work trips and doing Zoom calls, and we can't. And it's this idea that we have a lack of resources, that we're so isolated. In the olden days, your mom, your auntie, the cousin used to look after the baby, and now we're so isolated. So I think it's about rebuilding up that social network. That's an important network. Even lift schemes. I was in a lift scheme growing up, and it's very rare that you find children in lift schemes these days. And what does that say about us as parents? Like, there's more pressure to do it alone. You should be able to do it alone and cope. I think I have so much admiration for any single parent, whether it's a mom or a dad. I think it is so difficult, and add work on top of that. My only advice would be, you're not as isolated as you think, and you can ask for help. And it's unbelievable when you first start asking for help and people say yes, you're like, why haven't I done this before? Because we all want to help each other. We all have that gene within us. So if you are in that position, and I had to realize that, oh my gosh, I can ask for help. And you know what? It's not weak, Yael. I'm a person. I'm a mere mortal. I'm not a superhero. If we take our ego out of it again and don't care about what people see us as or judge us, or she can't do it all. No, I can't do it all. Margaret, can you do it all? I can't do it all. I can't do it all.
Okay, now tell us about this course, because I've been following that course with Claire Zammit. I must be honest, I find Claire a little bit slow for me. I seem to, and we're going to close this chat now, because people tend to fall off after 17 minutes. We're now in 20 minutes, but I find Claire a little bit slow. And I started sort of following her, and I don't know if this is for me. What made you choose Claire Zammit to follow for Feminine Power?
It was interesting. It was during a time where I was feeling quite disempowered, and I saw it advertised on one of those sponsored ads on Facebook, and it was just listen to this for an hour and a half. And I felt like this woman, this Claire, I call her the Claire Academy, gets me. And I think what it inspired in me is that as a woman, I can help myself feel more empowered by these simple tools. For the first time, the tools resonated with me. The power blocks, getting out of shame. You know, we carry a lot of shame as women. Getting out of isolation, which I mentioned, and getting out of lack. And the way she explained it, yes, she's very calm and her voice goes on and on. But the tools made sense to me. And for the first time, I thought, hold on a second. Someone is explaining this to me in a way that I can understand, and that in a way that I can go forward. And I did the first 7 weeks course, and I was hooked because I could see a profound difference in my life just from those 7 weeks. So for me, it was the way she has packaged her courses and the information and the way she relays that information to me was outstanding, because I'd never ever seen, even my fiance, he says, after those 7 weeks, he said, I was a different person because I had tools that I could kind of get stuck in with. And it wasn't just this talk. Often we do courses and we're like, oh, that's amazing in the moment, right? But then afterwards you think, what did they say again? What was I supposed to do? But this just kind of sunk in and I was able to do it. So if you can get over the slowness, you know, it is pretty cool. I'm impressed, you know, about her.
Yeah, no, I do. I study a lot. I study with Tony Robbins. I've done Tony Robbins' courses 3 times. And I absolutely love Robin Banks. Robin Banks has impacted so many people. I put so many people onto Robin Banks that he's impacted their lives. And I think that's why it's so important as us as women to do these courses, to come out, because there'll be something that resonates with you, something different that resonates with me. And if we can just go and empower other women with the work that we do, it's wonderful. But as I said, we were supposed to only talk for 15 minutes. We're now in 22. So thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm going to invite you back again and again, because I think we really got something going here. We're going to get out there and we're going to make South African women really, really strong. Just to let you know, the lady I'm studying at the moment is Dr. Caroline Leaf, who is a South African now living in America. If you haven't studied her, she the brain, actually how the brain works and how you rewire your brain to do what you want to do is just amazing. So listen to her. I think you'll love her, and so all the ladies listening as well. So thank you so much for being on the show today. I really enjoyed having you here. I can't wait to continue this conversation, and thank you, and carry on empowering yourself and others, because that's what we're here for. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Margaret. If we lift each other up, if one woman lifts up another woman up, we lift up humanity.